So, have you ever looked at a few tarot cards and just wondered, how on earth can these tell a coherent story? Well, today we're going to break that down. And listen, this isn't about some crystal ball fortune telling thing. We're talking about using a simple three-card spread to create what you could call a narrative forecast for pretty much any situation. Let's see how it works. Right, so how does this actually happen? How can three cards, seemingly pulled at random, map out a whole story? One with a real beginning, a middle, and an end. That's the big question we're going to unpack right now. We're going to follow a real reading, card by card, and watch the story build itself. And we're going to frame this using a structure that's as old as storytelling itself, the three-act story. First up, we get the challenge. That's what sets the whole scene. Then comes the path, which is kind of like the turning point or the advice. And finally, we land on the outcome, the potential resolution. It's a whole journey in just three cards. All right, let's dive into Act 1, the emotional forecast. This is where our story kicks off. Now, this first card isn't some dire prediction. It's more like a weather report for your inner world. It just helps us identify the main emotional state, or the conflict that gets our whole narrative started. And our first card is the Queen of Cups reversed. In our story, this is what you'd call the inciting incident. It's that initial feeling or event that gets the whole plot moving. It really defines the emotional landscape we're starting from. The contrast here is everything. See, when the Queen of Cups is upright, it's all about emotional balance and listening to your intuition. But when it's reversed, that beautiful energy gets all blocked up, creating what feels like an emotional fog. You go from harmony to, well, a whole lot of unease. So what does that emotional fog actually feel like in real life? Well, it might be this feeling of just being heavy, kind of foggy. You might find yourself being way more sensitive than usual, maybe taking little comments really personally, or, and this is a big one, you might feel like you're just pouring everything you have into others and getting basically nothing back. That's our story's starting point. So, we're in this fog. Now what? Well, that brings us to Act 2. This is all about finding the path forward. This next card is the advice. It's the action that can totally change the story's direction. And our guide for this part of the journey is the Hermit reversed. Now, it's super important to remember, this isn't another problem. This is the advice. It's telling us exactly how to navigate those foggy emotions from the first card. This is the big turning point in our narrative. And just like before, the reversal is where the meaning is. Upright, the Hermit is all about wise solitude, taking time for yourself to find some inner wisdom. But when it's reversed, that healthy alone time can turn sour. It becomes a warning against letting that solitude slide into pure, isolating loneliness. Or maybe even avoiding being with yourself because those feelings are just too much to handle. The card's advice here is so practical. Basically, don't cut yourself off. And look, this doesn't mean you have to do something huge. It's all about small, totally manageable things. Just send a quick voice note to a friend. Go for a 5-minute walk outside. Or just grab a pen and journal for a few minutes. Simple things that can completely shift the energy. Okay, so we've faced the challenge and we've gotten some advice. Where does this story lead? Now we get to Act 3, the promise of completion. This is that potential resolution, what happens when we successfully navigate the first two parts of our story. And here comes the medicine. I love that phrasing because it's the perfect way to introduce this last card. It's not just an ending, it's a healing. It's that sense of relief you feel after a struggle. This is the reward for doing the work. And our final card is the World. This is such a powerful card of resolution. It's all about completion, wholeness, and successfully closing out a major cycle. It is the perfect, satisfying conclusion to our three-act story. It shows us that our emotional journey has finally reached a meaningful end. But what does that completion actually feel like? It's that deep down sense of, I did it. It's that feeling of being genuinely ready for whatever comes next. It's like you finally arrived at a place you've been walking towards for a long, long time. This is the payoff for pushing through that fog. Okay, so we've looked at all three acts one by one. But now, let's put it all together and see the full story these three cards just told us. This is where all the pieces really click into place. This table just lays it out so clearly. Our challenge, from the Queen of Cups reversed, was that emotional fog. The advice, from the Hermit reversed, was a direct warning. Don't isolate. And the potential outcome, thanks to the World, is the promise that wholeness is right there, waiting for you. You can see the whole story arc right here. A problem, a clear solution, and a beautiful resolution. So what's the big takeaway from this whole story? It really comes down to this simple but incredibly profound idea. Feel the hard feeling. Don't hide from it by cutting yourself off. And trust that by doing that, the whole process will bring you home to yourself. And that really brings us to the final thought here. This whole story was about moving through a tough spot to finally close a chapter. So it leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. Looking at your own life right now, what cycle is finally ready to close for you?